The reason that I'm so excited to gather all of you here today, and we've got remarkable young leaders from every corner of the globe, from 60 countries, from all across the United States, young people who are already doing remarkable things in their communities, setting up health clinics or starting companies to provide renewable energy in very poor areas, or beginning to advocate on behalf of groups that have been left out and forgotten of communities. The reason I'm so excited to see you all here today, in part, is because this is where I started. Now, this isn't where I was born. I was born in Kenya.
Everyday motivation, and when I was at FAMU, I dropped out, for a little bit because I read Miseducation of the Negro, and I was like, you know what, I don't need school, I'm gonna start my own business, right? And then some guys from the FAMU Investment Committee kind of scooped me up, and they nurtured me, and they let me know that I needed to stay in school and finish, but they introduced me to the world of entrepreneurship. The FAMU Investment Committee basically took FAMU's endowment rate up completely. They raised their endowment rate 500%. So you're talking about 1.9 to 9.7% from 2006 to 2007. This is what this entrepreneurial investment committee did at Florida A&M. So that proof of concept let me know that this is something that I could do for the rest of my life. And as a result of that, I grew up in the hip hop era. So I was a contributor to hip hop, and it was cool to do then. But as I became older, I realized that this is the same mechanism that creates billionaires. All the millionaires that I know come from the arts community.
But you didn't pursue commerce. You pursued a life of service.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about where hip hop meets history now.
Absolutely.
With Museum 44, and that 44 has something to do with someone.
Stands for the 44th president. Yeah.
And what we're talking about, our culture, is the history of the Great Migration to the Northern City, the struggle of the Pullman Porters as the first union, right? Black union, right? That in fact set the groundwork for the battles that we're fighting today for our economic emancipation. So the struggle never ends, right? But we just have to plug you in decade by decade so you understand how to do it and how to apply your skill sets and your brilliant minds in the 21st century to emancipate not only yourselves, right, but your extended families, right? That's what the game plan is, as far as we're concerned.
But you didn't pursue commerce. You pursued a life of service.
Absolutely.
And you're talking about where hip hop meets history now. Absolutely. With Museum 44, and that 44 has
Stands
something
for
to
the
do with
44th
someone.
president.
Here in Chicago, one of those porters' great-granddaughter had the chance to go to a great college and a great law school, and had the chance to work for the mayor, and had the chance to climb the ladder of success and serve as a leader in some of our city's most important institutions. And I know that because today she's the First Lady of the United States of America, Michelle Obama. So without this place, Michelle wouldn't be where she was. There's a reason why I've got one of the original copies of the program for the March on Washington, a march for jobs and justice, with A. Philip Randolph's name right there as the first speaker framed in my office. Because without Pullman, I might not be there.
106, y'all give it up for the big guy, Rick Ross. Yeah.
No, we just been paying our dues and everybody been on the grind, so it's time to shine right now. Ricky Ross, Po Boy, Triple C's, Flo Rida, Briscoe, Plies, Trick Daddy, just the whole 305 and old state of Florida doing their thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then, but not Rick Ross. Rick Ross is opening up a fast food restaurant, but not just a regular one. There's something different about yours. Tell us about your restaurant you're opening up.
I'm gonna keep it real. I look at my little restaurant like the baby 4040. You feel me? Yeah. It's the Hip Hop Grub Spot. It's a little spot for like the younger kids to come and just practice being entrepreneurs and bosses when they come to their music and their careers and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Hip Hop Grub Spot is my spot. Believe it.
Every time I come home, this is the spot I eat at. You can catch me here every time I'm home. So check it out, Hip Hop Grub Spot.
We're going to do a TV show. We're going to call it Museum 44 because we want to change the narrative. We want to control the narrative. I'm tired of looking on the news and seeing someone else tell me what I'm about. You know, I'm looking on the news and they're saying, yeah, these young kids, they're urban terrorists. And so I'm like, well, that's not me. I came up in this neighborhood. These same guys that you're demonizing are the same guys that would pick me up from the train at 103rd and Cottage Grove and walk me home every day and say, man, you know what? This young guy, he's going to be somebody. So we want to make sure that we protect him. We instill these principles and this discipline. It's okay, well, I need to be proactive to make sure that I benefit from this, or our local HBCU or PBI in our perspective, which is Chicago State, Olive Harvey, Malcolm X, they're all PBIs, predominantly black institutions. So they're still in that same model. But even with that, you know, going back to the original model of the university, of the museum, it's not gonna work if we maintain a dependent state of mind. You know, so I went out there because I went with some people who do some advisement to government in Trinidad, Tobago, also South Florida, some fellow FAMU alumni. And, you know, we introduced something that was introduced at FAMU, which was the first investment committee ever in history. So this model, it basically gave people the outlet to create shareholders and investors as opposed to just donors. So alumni, you know, this model took alumni giving up at FAMU from 1.9 to 9.7%.
Wow.
You know, so well, we have the
So now do you receive dividends as the school profits?
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Wow.
So this is the concept that we want to implement in our cultural institutions, our schools, our HBCUs, PBIs, and even community organizations. You know what I mean? This is an administration that we need to engage strategically, aggressively, and effectively, because it's more of an economic concern for them, you know, so they're more victims of deprivation. So it's not necessarily a matter of validation in an era where social media can give you that validation you need anyway. It's more of, why is it that I'm trying to do the right thing, but I see somebody doing the wrong thing flourishing right before my eyes?
But can't deprivation make you think that you're not worthy?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why it's up to us as leaders to come up with unconventional ways to address that, and that's solution-based. You know what I mean? We can have provocative conversations all of the time, and we can talk to a blue in the face, but it only happens when we start to talk about solutions. You know, and those solutions are, in my case, cultural economic development.
Yes, for SHOMARI Stone is at the Miami Gardens restaurant to explain.
So what are you doing? Dropping more popcorn shrimp for the platters, okay?
19-year-old Nelson Morrell is interning as a chef at the Hip Hop Grub Spot in Miami Gardens.
What's the deal with the wings? Do we need more wings?
The second-year student at Johnson & Wales University's Culinary Arts School.
You know, being a culinary major, every culinary student's dream is to have their own restaurant. Little did I know it would come at the age of 19.
The heat is on. This weekend is Hip Hop Grub Spot's grand opening.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm super excited for today and everything that's going on.
Nelson and the young staff created the menu on their own. Everything from wings and fries to sandwiches and wraps.
This is a buffalo chicken wrap.
The Grub Spot was founded by a group of nonprofit organizations. Hip hop music is the restaurant's theme. Rapper Rick Ross co-owns the restaurant and says Nelson is a good cook.
He's one of Johnson & Wales' finest, you know what I'm saying? So, and he want to be an entrepreneur.
San Francisco 49er superstar Frank Gore, a former Miami Hurricane football player, is also a co-owner.
I feel that we always should give, you know, people in the community, you know, a chance to do positive things.
Nelson is all about positivity, so look out, Emerald. He's up and coming.
And I'm trying to just gain as much experience at my age right now, because so far what I've learned is this is more than just a kitchen.
That's great. Now, Nelson finishes his internship in about a week, and once he's done, he'll become an executive chef here at the Hip Hop Grub Spot. He'll also have stock options in the company. Now, back to the moment I've been waiting for. This is a buffalo chicken wrap. You saw it in the piece. Absolutely delicious. I'm gonna have to wash it down with this Super Cindy smoothie. Tastes good. Thanks, Nelson. Live in Miami Gardens, I'm SHOMARI Stone, CBS.
So HBCU is historically black college university, and PBI is predominantly black institution. So So with that, you know, the proof of concept, once again, is creating an ecosystem where we can fund businesses, we can create millionaires and billionaires, you know, by giving them access to this capital so that they can change their mindset from donors to investors and shareholders, you know, so we can be self-sufficient.
Very exciting about the Hip Hop Grub spot. It's a day that we all been looking for, and just to see the energy here, it's just positive, and I am very proud to be a part of this team.
And our proof of concept of that is an ability to work with a 7 million population of HBCU and PBI alumni. You know, there are 186 PBIs out there, HBCUs and PBIs out there, and it is our duty and our goal to work with them, to bring about a venture capitalist ecosystem. An ability to work with a 7 million population of HBCU and PBI alumni. And it is our duty and our goal to work with them, to bring about a venture capitalist ecosystem. The proof of concept, once again, is creating an ecosystem where we can fund businesses, we can create millionaires and billionaires, you know, by giving them access to this capital.
As you find your park, make sure we get out and support, especially Pullman. You know, we got, as I told them, it's now that we have a national park here, one of the national parks in Pullman, then we need to go out and support, especially as I started learning what happened with the history of the Porters, and I want to know more.
You know, so the mental health, you know, my mentor, Bobby Ronald Kwesi Harris, you know, he started off with at Bobby Wright on the West Side, you know, mental health facility. Then he brought that proof of concept to Chicago State University, where he then directly affected the male retention rate at that school. You know, so the male retention rate increased tremendously just because of the influence and the reinforcement that he offered. And that reinforcement was based on culture. We were meeting people where they were and where they didn't know that they were. You know, we come from an African perspective. So we're diaspora Africans. So no, I'm not born in Africa, right? But my bloodline comes from Africa. So we've been spread out all across the diaspora, the Caribbean, all of the Americas, you know, even though Mansa Musa had ships coming over here way before Christopher Columbus, but I mean, that's another conversation. But I say all that to say, the cultural reinforcement is the key. Culture is the cure.
Victor Munez, marketing director for the Hip Hop Grub Spot, senior at Johnson & Wales University, the #1 career university in the nation.
And Vic, what's it feel on the event so far?
I mean, it's big. I mean, people coming every second. I mean, we just out here trying to promote youth entrepreneurship, global investment. We out here giving back to the community. You know, it's just big, man. It's a movie.
We realize that we are only here simply because we stand on the shoulders of the elders and the ancestors that came before us. So one time for the ancestors, Ashe. 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 All right, now with the elders out there, I ask, may I speak?
Yes, you can.
May I speak, elders?
Yes, you can.
Now with that being said, I'm going to continue.
We didn't count my G, not a lot of people count on me, and I'm just trying to find my feet. Till I finish moving like my knee, then I probably wouldn't use my feet. In this spaceship, and I ain't patient. I wish I could. Make some noise, Chicago. I'm wearing my custom kings. I got my Jesus chain. My canaries is gleaming through my angel wings.
You are the president and executive director of the, I want to get the whole title right, the National A. Philip Randolph Pullman Porter's Museum, right?
The first and only Black labor history museum in the world.
First and only, which means we need a lot more.
They all told me that I would lose, but I'm right here and I won't lose. Can't nobody stop me. I'm somebody. My brother Dre told you to be somebody. Carol City know what I'm talking about. The movement. Introduce you to Rouse.
Yo, what it do? This the big boss, Ricky Ross, man, and we just out here at the grand opening of the Hip Hop Grub Spot. And really the Grub Spot, man, it's a brainchild of a lot of different people with ideas and concepts. And I was just happy to be a piece of the puzzle, to be here today to make sure the grand opening popped off. So that's what it's about, man. I salute everybody that's involved, all parties, and y'all know what it is.
It's a positive event. We had no mishap. The kids are all manable. The parents are out here with them. The PR, the players, the models. It's just exciting. I'm glad to be a part of it. It's one thing we really have to focus in on is to make sure that we get the same traffic coming in so that we can take this this model throughout Miami-Dade County and international.
Hip Hop Grub Spot is going down.
It's the movement.
To the #1 hip hop grub spot in Miami.
I think this is a great concept, and I encourage my clients to do things in addition to playing football. And this is dynamite to see Frank getting involved in something in the community. It's productive, provides jobs. Hopefully it can be a big franchise and we can have a lot more of these.
You know what I'm saying? But it's a dream. Now it's the reality. It's come true. We opening up businesses in the hood, so I mean, it's all good.
This was going on in Africa. Your ancestors did that. So when I was able to attach myself to something that was great and be like, yo, people that look like me did that, I felt like I could do it too.
How exactly do we support Black businesses in Vietnam?
Gotcha. Well, the thing is, there's a couple of things in here that are actually myth, right? So there's a 1.3 trillion buying power amongst Black people alone in this country. Meaning, if you were able to take that 1.3 trillion, that would actually be the 9th largest country in the world. So we're not quite broke. What we have is an issue of how we spend our money.
We knew we were on to something, ain't no one could tell us nothing. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's bigger than us. What we've done, you know, our whole career is I have to give credit to, you know, to the nation, because people.
Hey guys, Rick Ross has lots to celebrate this year. Along with his birthday, he has a new album and a new restaurant. And of course, he had plenty of celeb friends on hand to help get the party started.
Happy birthday, Ricky Ross. You know you're doing it, MIAO. Best is yet to come for you, baby.
Happy birthday to my brother, my mentor, Ricky Ross, Deco Drive, MIA 305. That's us, yeah.
Shout out to Jay. He in the building. We doing it big, man. Y'all know what's cracking.
Yep, Jay-Z came through to show his support along with DJ Khaled and company.
We have a Rick Ross birthday bash. It's Miami, baby. Trilla.
It's your boy Sean Kingston, man. You know what it is.
Speaking of getting your grub on, Rick Ross helped out over the weekend at the grand opening of the Hip Hop Grub Spot in Miami Gardens.
It's the brainchild of a lot of people. There was a lot of good ideas put together, and I was just happy to be a piece of the puzzle and make it pop.
The restaurant plays off a hip-hop theme with menu items named after industry celebs. And it's the first of what they hope will be a worldwide chain of hip-hop grub spots.
Super Cindy.
So eat well.
So go to commercial so we can
Feeling
eat.
super.
Now.
Hello? This is Betty Wright, and I'm out here supporting the Hip Hop Grub Spot, ready to get my grub on.
You know, I was blessed enough to go to Washington, D.C. to be a part of the conversation with the new administration talking about an executive order for HBCUs. So, you know, we had an opportunity to meet with 107 Black presidents of universities who talked about, you know, what the next steps for Black universities would look like. So, you know, some people kind of jumped the gun and said, oh, we got played, or this and that, you know, but at the end of the day, the budget has been flattened. So it hasn't increased or went down, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Walk us through that a little bit. So what was the executive order that you all spoke about? And within Trump's budget, funding has remained flat for historically Black colleges and universities, no increase, no decrease.
Absolutely.
But
the difference,
what were you expecting and what were you talking about?
Yeah, so the difference is, you know, they took the power of that whole piece out of the Department of Education and put it in the West Wing, where the president has direct, you know, overseeing of it. And that was done strategically by a young lady named Omarosa, you know, HBCU alumni herself, Howard graduate. And she's been the one who's been basically advising the president in that regard for what he should do with that. Him and another brother by the name of Johnny C. Taylor, Jr., who's actually CEO of the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. So these two people have been very influential in making sure that the president understands that this is a specific area of influence and focus for him. you know. And for me, you know, I was very, very excited to see that 107 black presidents were invited in that space, because in previous years I hadn't seen that done. You know, I went to a HBCU in 1999, you know, and I had never seen that done, you know, prior to or after that time period. So I was very optimistic to see what happened. I was optimistic to hear, you know, that this was an area of concern for people. You know, that made me feel good. That made me, you know, so now, once I understood that, you know, there's an area of concern for it, now my area of influence is changed.
It's Councilman Oscar Brandon from the city of Miami Gardens, and whenever I'm on 441 in Miami Gardens, I eat at the hip hop grub spot. It's a hit.
What you gotta realize is no matter how far you make it, and how successful you become in life, always remember that once you make it, you have a responsibility, not only to your direct family, but to all the young men and women that's looking at y'all. Because once you're in the spotlight, or once you're doing good, the light is always shining on y'all. Somebody's always watching. So do everything that you can to be a reflection of greatness, of the light. Because those that come after y'all, they're gonna be a reflection of y'all.
I show people how to really eat chicken wing. You got, oh, by the way, that's the #1 song in the country. But anyway, you see people, when they leave the meat, you gotta eat the bone too. You feel me?
What flavor is it?
It's DJ Khaled, Hip Hop Grub Spot. I definitely co-sign it.
Old boy shrimp rap make you say what? Fat Joe fish platter don't really matter. Rick Ross, big boss with a wave platter. Super City smoothie at the movie. Flow rider, ooh wee, I'ma do me. All this you can find at one spot. Baby dying at the hip hop grub spot.
And Chantal, David, you said that you're becoming your mother. Are we all becoming our mothers?
Well, not technically, like.
But I mean, just around these mannerisms, values, you know, speeches, is that inevitable that we become our mothers or fathers or?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it takes an intentional effort on the parents' side to make sure that they dump those things into you.
Are you glad you're becoming your mother?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, not technically my mom, but I mean, yeah, I'm glad because, you know, once again, she's provided me a proof of concept. I've watched her thrive in a misogynistic society as a single black female who was educated, who went and got her PhD at the age of 67. You know what I mean? That's strength, and I can't do anything but applaud her for that. You know, so yes, I'm deeply impacted her, and she's pushed me to the point where now I interact with the Trinidadian government and Cape Verde and the FAMU Investment Committee and all of these different people, and she's trained me in order to craft my conversations with people of this stature. So it's easy, it's like, it's a breeze.
And if nothing else, I want you to take away from this summit that sense that you are right there, ready and able to transform the world.